psychic investigators tonight, the police turn to the paranormal to solve a cold case.
Wild Oats leading the fleet home to Hobart. The body in the bin murder that's shocked Sydney. A European mission to find life outside the solar system. And over and out in only 3 days. Good evening, this is ABC News. I'm Barbara Pongratz. The line honours battle in this year's Sydney to Hobart yacht race should be decided in the next few hours as the leading entries prepare for a downwind run to the finish line. The 30-metre maxi Wild Oats 11 holds a comfortable lead and is expected to arrive at Constitution Dock before midnight. Its competitors have struggled in the big seas, but the defending champion looks set to record a rare double.
After yesterday's dramas, it was relatively plain sailing overnight as the leaders crossed Bass Strait. A stiff southerly breeze made life uncomfortable for the crews, forcing them to rug up as they pushed into a cold wind. Wild Oats 11 hit a flat spot during the night, but by daybreak had re-established a 12 nautical mile lead, a margin it extended during the day. The defending champion has rounded Tasman Island and looks set for a downwind run to the line. It should become the first back-to-back winner since 1968. It was a tough night on board Scandia. The Maxi was hot on the tail of Wild Oats 11 yesterday when it lost its front rudder. The damage reduced its ability to steer into the wind, and it quickly lost ground, with the Volvo 70 yacht Ichiban set to take advantage of Scandia's misfortune. The round-the-world racer is neck and neck with the Maxi and could overtake it in the race to Hobart tonight. The battle for handicap honours remains tight. The Sydney Yacht Impeccable is the current leader, skippered by the oldest man in the fleet, 84-year-old John Walker. Victorian Yacht Bacardi is just 6 minutes behind, while one of the favourites for handicap honours, Yendes, is in third. The skipper of Coomaloo beat the entire fleet into Hobart, but he arrived by plane after his crew was rescued yesterday. A search was mounted for the yacht last night, but it's believed to have sunk.
It's a hard boat to replace, but we'll certainly look for something similar, something with a bit of history, and try and get back out there.
The crew of Maximus limped into Sydney this morning after snapping its mast yesterday. One injured crewman remains in Moruya Hospital, but 4 others were reunited with the yacht as the skipper voiced his disappointment.
Oh, well, we should be in Hobart right now, drinking champagne and celebrating, I believe.
The refit could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, although owner Bill Buckley was offered a cheap deal by his son.
Oh, he said he'd fix it for me with sellotape.
The crew is preparing the boat to be shipped back to New Zealand. Matt Brown, ABC News, Hobart.
And Matt Brown is now at Constitution Dock, keenly awaiting Wild Oats' arrival. So, Matt, when can we expect to see the first spinnaker on the Derwent?
Well, Barbara, as we mentioned, Wild Oats 11 is rounding Tasman Island as we speak, and with this southerly breeze that's blowing straight up the Derwent, we should expect to see it sometime around 10 p.m. Maybe a little bit later, but it should be a spectacular sight if it does make it here in the twilight, because as you mentioned, that southerly breeze should ensure a spinnaker run home, and I think that's what we're all hoping for. A real dogfight in second place, Ichiban and of course Scandia. They should too come up the Derwent together with their spinnakers in full sail, and they should finish sometime just after midnight.
And what about the rest of the fleet a bit further back?
Well, the conditions haven't been as fantastic as we thought they might be. The wind is really persisted today, and last night conditions were pretty uncomfortable in Bass Strait. That's where those boats are at the moment. We are expecting a high pressure system to take over, and those winds should die down, which may create some problems with them speed-wise, but should create a bit more of a comfortable trip.
And how's the ever-changing battle for handicap honours?
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. It certainly is ever-changing. The one thing that is constant so far is that Impeccable is still in front. And what a fantastic story that is. The 84-year-old John Walker, who has been sailing for some 26 years down to Hobart. And wouldn't it be fantastic if he could come across the line first? This high-pressure system, if the winds do die off, that may cause some problems for the boats that are a bit further back. And it might play into the hands of a boat like Yendes, which is currently 4th. and was a handicap favourite before this race started. So that's my pick, but it would be the fairy tale story if the old man got the prize.
It would be terrific. Matt Brown, thank you. Matt Brown at Constitution Dock. And Shogun has won both line and handicap honours in this year's Melbourne to Launceston yacht race. After a rough night, most of the fleet's 23 yachts have reached the finish line.
Strong winds overnight gave way to calmer conditions for the Melbourne to Launceston fleet this morning. Geelong yacht Shogun crossed the line at about 11 o'clock, completing the race in just under 23 hours. The 46-footer had been tipped to challenge the 20-hour race record, but the conditions proved too tough.
That was surprising because the forecast was that most we'd see is about 20. 30 knots is a lot of wind in my book, so that caused us a bit of angst over the night.
Another Geelong yacht, Sea Eagle, crossed an hour and 20 minutes later. John Garner just bought the yacht off Shogun skipper Rob Hanna.
Oh, fantastic.
They're stoked.
It's our first race on the boat. We only just got it a couple of weeks ago.
I only sold it 3 weeks ago. That's exactly right.
2 yachts were forced to retire last night. Boots was dismasted, while Rough Red damaged its rudder.
We have the situation, we are stabilising the boats, getting the situation under control.
Sandringham yacht Outrageous crossed in 3rd place. In the Melbourne to Hobart, the leaders are being slowed by 20-knot southerlies just off the west coast of Tasmania. No Fear still leads the fleet, followed by Icefire and Hasta La Vista. The front runners are expected to finish on Saturday. Jessica Longbottom, ABC News.
It's a murder even hard-nosed police have described as appalling and callous. An 80-year-old woman has been strangled and her body dumped in a wheelie bin in an apartment complex in Sydney's eastern suburbs. Police say they know very little about the woman, who lived alone and had no family in Australia.
This apartment block in a quiet suburban street last night became the focus of a murder investigation after a gruesome discovery inside. Locals concerned about the whereabouts of their 80-year-old neighbour, Catherine Schweitzer, went to her 5th floor unit, but there was no answer. Soon after, her body was found in a wheelie bin.
To think that the indignity of it all, to be found at that age, to be strangled to death and to be dumped in a bin within a unit, it's just appalling, and we just cannot work out the callousness of it.
Police say garbage bins for the apartment block are usually kept outside, but this one was found inside the building. It was also garbage night. Officers say this bin could have ended up anywhere.
Very, very shocked. Yes, gee, you can't be too careful, can you?
She always had a smile. She always had a smile. You would go past her in the lift lobby, good morning, how are you? She was just a great person.
Police say Ms Schweitzer hadn't been seen since last Friday and believe she was probably killed sometime yesterday afternoon.
Surely somebody must have called on this lady to wish her the best for Christmas. Surely there must be a friend that knows something about it.
Officers believe the woman was from Hungary and had no family in Australia. Police say the woman lived alone in this apartment block for around 30 years. She was actively involved in the residents' committee and was very security conscious, often urging others to lock their doors.
We're just constantly conscious of the fact that because there's a lot of elderly residents in the building with carers and people coming and going, it's a dangerous situation for any elderly person.
Detectives are now trying to determine Catherine Schweitzer's last movements, but for now they're at a loss to explain her murder and why her body was left dumped in a garbage bin. Rebecca Barrett, ABC News.
A 24-year-old man has appeared in court in relation to an assault at Sisters Beach in Tasmania's northwest. Burnie police have charged the man with multiple crimes, including 2 counts of rape and 4 counts of aggravated sexual assault. Police are still looking for witnesses who heard or saw anything suspicious in the Sisters Beach area between 1 and 7 yesterday morning. The accused man has been remanded in custody to appear in a Launceston court on Saturday. A group of sacked Launceston meatworkers who won a legal fight to regain their jobs have had their victory overturned. The 17 workers were dismissed by Blue Ribbon in April 2003 for refusing to take up individual contracts. That sparked a long-running legal dispute, and in 2004 the full bench of the Supreme Court ruled that the workers should be reinstated. Now the full bench of the Industrial Commission has upheld an appeal by Blue Ribbon.
We've had 1 decision against us and 6 in favour of us, and the full bench of the Tasmanian Commission has upheld Blue Ribbon's decision not to engage our members. We're shattered, the members are shattered.
The union is seeking legal advice. The Prime Minister has written to state and territory leaders saying health and safety reforms are needed to help the mining sector improve its economic growth. Mr Howard wants Aboriginal heritage issues dealt with more quickly and a streamlined and consistent system for getting new mines approved. He also wants changes to occupational health and safety laws to ensure that mine managers are not held solely responsible for accidents.
These three things are sensible proposals, and if the states agree, and I can't see any reason why they wouldn't, because they're common sense proposal to make a good system even better.
Unions have rejected the proposals.
And this is a terrific Christmas present to give mine workers, lowering safety standards.
The issues will be considered when the Council of Australian Governments meets in the middle of the year. America is preparing to farewell its only unelected president. Gerald Ford died at home in California yesterday. He was 93. He took over when Richard Nixon was forced to resign and is probably best remembered for pardoning the disgraced president. Today, many are paying tribute to Gerald Ford for restoring faith in the Oval Office.
Within hours of Gerald Ford's death, makeshift memorials sprang up at his presidential museum in Michigan. By morning, the flag at the US Capitol was at half-mast, and every 30 minutes a single cannon was fired. It's 30 years since he left office, but the public still remembers him.
So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Gerald Ford became president in 1974 after Richard Nixon resigned in disgrace over Watergate.
My fellow Americans, our long national nightmare is over.
A month later, he controversially pardoned his predecessor.
Do grant a full, free, and absolute pardon unto Richard Nixon for all offences against the United States.
But America's 38th and only unelected president always insisted it was the right thing for the country.
It was the right decision then, and I'm even more convinced some 20 years later it was the right decision today.
Gerald Ford's handling of the post-Watergate era has won praise.
For a nation that needed healing, and for an office that needed a calm and steady hand, Gerald Ford came along when we needed him most.
He was typical Jerry Ford. He never went to his head that he was president, and a truly remarkable man.
But there were stumbles too from the former star athlete, who in later years joked about his mishaps.
My skiing is improving on the slopes. I fall less. My golf is getting better. I hit fewer spectators. But most of all, it gets reported less.
During his 29-month presidency, Gerald Ford survived 2 assassination attempts, but he never won office in his own right, losing to Jimmy Carter in 1976. The 93-year-old former president died at his California home. Gerald Ford's body will lie in state at the US Capitol this weekend before a funeral in Washington next week. He'll be laid to rest at his presidential museum in Michigan. Kim Landers, ABC News, Washington.
Is there life out there? A European space mission has just blasted off with the aim of trying to find out once and for all. The orbiting telescope will be capable of detecting very small Earth-like planets way beyond our solar system.
The Corot Space Telescope is on its way. Its mission is to help answer one of the biggest questions of all time. Are we alone in the universe? Our sun is just one of 400 billion stars in our galaxy. So surely somewhere out there is another star, around which orbits a planet just like ours. Up until now, ground-based telescopes have only been able to detect very large planets, about the size of Jupiter orbiting other stars. But the new mission should be able to detect smaller planets, more like the size of ours.
The sun is not an old star, it's not a young star, it's not a big star, it's not a small star, it's just an ordinary star, and there are thousands, millions, billions of stars like that out there. So around some of them there will be planets like the Earth, or similar to the Earth, that could in principle sustain life.
Corot will look for twinkling stars, slight variations in brightness that suggest a small planet is in orbit around them. But how many is it likely to find?
If you find one more,
in the vicinity of the solar system, because Kourou is not looking that far away, then that implies, given the immensity of the galaxy and the number of stars, the 400 billion stars that we know about existing in our galaxy, that there must be a lot of them.
If Kourou does discover small planets, it could mean that life could be much more abundant across the entire galaxy than we previously thought.
In our main story tonight, Wild Oats 11 is way out in front as the Sydney to Hobart finishes. And coming up, Australia one step closer to a clean sweep of the Ashes series. The ice may be melting at the White House over global warming, and it's all because of polar bears. The Bush administration wants them listed as a threatened species because of their dwindling habitat. The bears are struggling for survival as the ice disappears in the Arctic.
It is a big deal today to have the Bush administration recognize that global warming is threatening the existence of the polar bear. So now we need action from the Congress and from the President to curb global warming. That's what it would take to save the polar bear.
It's the first time the US has made a direct link between the threat to a species and global warming. A new CSIRO study has cast doubt on claims that the current drought is the result of climate change. The scientists say it's just part of the natural cycle, though they don't discount the fact that climate change is compounding the problem.
This year there was almost no late winter or spring rain across eastern and southern Australia. In many areas it's the driest period since records began in 1900.
There's not much doubt that the rainfall's gone down. The argument is, what's the cause of that? Is it carbon dioxide and climate change, or just a cyclical drought?
We had a very bad drought around the beginning of the Second World War, another bad one around Federation, the beginning of last century.
The CSIRO has used a computer simulation based on current weather patterns to predict the natural occurrence of drought over 10,000 years.
They were very random. Sometimes you get one and there would be a gap of 800 years to the next. Then you might get 5 of them within 500 years.
And the bad news could be far from over, with the model showing at least one dry episode of 14 years. It's not just the land that's smarting. The drought has knocked 0.75% off Australia's growth rate. Scientists and policymakers agree that in the long term, the real concern is climate change.
Right around the world, the scientific communities of the United States, Britain, France, Germany, Japan and Russia at the G8 have signed off on the fact that global warming is affecting us now.
Scientists hope the expected end of the El Niño in March will bring some relief. Elizabeth Byrne, ABC News.
And now a Chinese puzzle, a communist outpost where everyone appears to be rich. The one-time poor farmers now drive flash cars and live in big new houses. But as China correspondent Stephen McDonnell reports, the model socialist village of Huaxi has a secret.
The town of Huaxi is celebrating its 45th birthday. The self-styled model socialist village claims to have become the richest in China. In the 1960s, its farmers had an average annual income of $9. Today it's $12,700. Yet in Huaxi, you're only paid a small amount of cash. The collective provides your house, your car, and even food. We lead a very nice life here. Our basic life requirements are guaranteed. The town takes responsibility for all our needs. A stark contrast is to be found just 1 kilometre down the road. People in surrounding villages clearly don't enjoy the same standard of living. While other parts of China are privatising, Huaxi's Communist Party leadership has stuck with its unique socialist model. If we combine our limited resources, together we can invest in big projects. The secret to the town's wealth lies on its outskirts. Huaxi is surrounded by heavy industry. Whereas townspeople were once farmers, they're now part owners of manufacturing companies. Huaxi's steel, textile, cement and electricity companies employ thousands of migrant workers. Here there are no weekends. People have 2 days off a month. If you move to another town, you forfeit your car and house. And there's an air pollution price to pay with such heavy industry. But people are not trying to get out of Huaxi town, quite the opposite. There's not enough space to accommodate those who want to move in. Stephen McDonnell, ABC News, Huaxi.
HMAS Tobruk has left Sydney for the Middle East to provide logistical support for coalition forces in regional trouble spots. Family and friends farewelled the servicemen and women of the supply and logistics ship at Garden Island this morning. After a brief stop in Fremantle, the Tobruk will spend 3 months delivering military stores and equipment. The ship will also bring Australian equipment back home. The annual Taste of Tasmania food, wine and entertainment festivals kicked off at Hobart's waterfront. Organisers are hoping for record crowds at what they say will be the best taste yet.
The ribbon was cut to mark the official opening of the taste, and it didn't take long for the Prince's Wharf shed to fill up. There are 14 new food stalls this year, and organisers hope they'll help attract a record crowd. There's a big focus on small gourmet producers this year.
There's a lot of really top-notch people that are down here this year, more so than there have been in previous years.
The Greens are disappointed the event's being sponsored by Tamar Ridge Wines, which is owned by timber company Guns.
It can't be seen as a clean green festival if Guns Limited is the main money behind the festival this year.
The Lord Mayor says funding is always a problem, and Tamar Ridge won an expression of interest to sponsor the event.
We have a budget for this. We are very reticent to put an entry fee on it. We want every family in Hobart to enjoy it. So we fund it as best as possible, but the fact is we do need sponsorship.
More than 200,000 people are expected to visit the taste to soak up the atmosphere and experience Tasmania's famous produce.
All the lovely produce from Tasmania, we've heard a lot about it. We're over from the west and we thought we'd sample a bit of it.
Running alongside is the International Buskers Festival. It's attracted performers from across Australia and overseas. Sally Glaitzer, ABC News.
The Australian share market continued its record run today, and once again it was the mining sector leading the charge. Here's Philip Lasker with the details.
Well, it's onward and upward for the Australian share market, and today's good vibes came from the United States. The All Ordinaries Index rose almost 18 points to 5,634. Wall Street helped. The Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped above 12,500 points for the first time. And here's one of the numbers that did it. New home sales in the US rose a stronger than expected 3.4% in November. This number came as quite a relief to those worried that America's housing sector might be in for a rough time, taking consumers and the economy with it. And this was the other number which delighted investors: crude oil prices at a one-month low thanks to warmer weather in the US. It all hits home. More American houses means higher copper prices, and that helped BHP Billiton and stocks like building products maker James Hardie. Gold explorer Gold Search was suspended from trading after the Australian Stock Exchange wanted to know why its share price has jumped 150%, and Petsec Energy made another gas discovery in the Gulf of Mexico. Qantas shareholders received a letter from the consortium seeking to buy the airline. The letter from Bob Mansfield denied reports that the new owners would change or sell the frequent flyer program business. It said the transaction will have no impact on the frequent flyer program. And on foreign exchange markets, the Australian dollar is generally higher. It will buy almost 78.7 US cents. And that's finance.
To cricket, and Australia is one test away from a 5-0 sweep of the Ashes series after wrapping up the fourth test within 3 days. This morning, much of the talk was about how England's bowling plans found their way into the media. But this evening, it was how England had once again lost the Ashes plot. With a first innings lead of 260, Australia's bowlers showed that strategy is no substitute for line and length.
The crowd built throughout the afternoon. Victory was in the air, and a last chance to farewell champions Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. Queensland's batting match winners cheered the leg-spinning genius to a standing ovation. The veterans left the arena arm in arm. Today's England huddle no doubt had new strategies to discuss. Day 3 brought a letdown for Andrew Symonds. Without Matthew Hayden there to rein in his attacking instincts, he added just 2 to his overnight score.
Well, that could well be out. Big noise.
In his last MCG Test innings, Shane Warne opened up the shoulders for 6 boundaries on his way to 40 not out.
Oh, again, rubbish, and it's dealt with.
But Stuart Clark delivered Reid his 6th catch of the innings.
Gone, yes!
And Glenn McGrath's 35th Test duck took him 1 clear of Warne on Australia's all-time noughts list. Cook increased Barmy Army lunchtime optimism with his hook.
That's well placed.
But they were put back on their seats by Clark.
Oh, he's got him! He's nicked it all right.
And McGrath, who had a leg before decision go his way against Bell.
It's close, his hand's moving, it's going!
Elevated to number 4, England's best, Kevin Peterson, made 1, becoming Clark's 20th dismissal of the series.
Oh, he's knocked him over! What a delivery!
Collingwood departed in a hurry, Langer forever sharp in close, and England had lost 4 for 34.
Gone! Good catching, good field placement!
It could have been worse on tee as Warne tested Flintoff with a flipper.
I got him! No, he hasn't.
Brett Lee got his man. Strauss gone for 31. With a fragile tail to come, England still trailed by 170.
That's caught behind. Yes, up goes the finger.
When Clark trapped Flintoff for 25, thoughts of England resisting into day 4 faded. Warne took his match tally to 7 wickets. And Lee cut a swathe through the tail-enders. Upbeat Australia and a down and demoralised opponent moved to Sydney. The 2 veterans' final Test farewell might be just as sweet. John Hayes-Bell, ABC News.
Time for the weather, and it's been cloudy in the west and far south, but fine and sunny elsewhere. Maximum temperatures were pretty close to average. Launceston and Cressy had the highest of 24. Burnie got to 20 and Hobart just 16. In the 24 hours to 9 this morning, there was widespread light rain in the west and more scattered falls in the south and east. The highest was 7 millimetres on Mount Reid. The satellite picture shows low-level cloud over most of the state. On the sequence, grey-coloured low-level cloud covers much of the ocean surrounding Tasmania, with a high to the west and a weak front to the east visible where the cloud becomes more speckled. The chart shows a high with centres to the west and northeast of Tasmania and a cold front just to the east. The cold front reaches New Zealand tomorrow and the high dominates eastern Australia. The forecast across the nation: fine in Perth and Adelaide, late storms in Darwin, fine and sunny in Melbourne, showers for Sydney and Canberra, but mostly fine in Brisbane. For Tasmania, a little bit of early morning drizzle in the north and southwest, but generally a fine sunny day. Friday's temperatures for Hobart, Burnie and Devonport a top of 18, Launceston up to 22, Strahan, St Helens and Swansea all expecting 19. Off the coast, southeast to easterly winds at 5 to 15 knots in the south, grading to 15 to 25 knots in Bass Strait and tending east to northeasterly later, swell all dropping to under 2 metres. The weekend then, it's looking fine and warm, a top of 21 degrees in Hobart on Saturday, and the whole state can look forward to a summery end to the year on Sunday. Before we go, a look back at the yacht races. Wild Oats 11 is poised for back-to-back line honours wins in the Sydney-Hobart race. The defending champions sailing off the Tasman Peninsula with under 50 nautical miles to the finish. Wild Oats is expected to reach Constitution Dock sometime after 10 this evening. The tight battle for second place continues between Scandia and Ichiban. And the Geelong yacht Shogun has been declared the overall winner of the Melbourne to Launceston race. The 46-footer won line honours late this morning and has just been declared the winner on handicap. Shogun had been tipped to break the race record of 20 hours but came in about 3 hours shy of the target. Victorian yacht No Fear continues to lead the Melbourne to Hobart race. And that's all the news for now. We'll have the latest on the yachts in just under an hour, and you can stay up to date with ABC Radio and online. For now though, good night.